Welcome to the Goldbelt Ancestral Trust web presentation. This presentation will explain the purposes of the trust and why the Goldbelt Board recommends a yes vote for the trust at the annual meeting on June 7 or by proxy. This slide provides a summary of the key points regarding the Ancestral Trust. It will be a separate legal entity and will not be controlled by Goldbelt. It will consist of 3 subtrusts for distributions, scholarships, and burial assistance. It requires a majority of the shareholders in attendance at the annual meeting to approve. The funding for the trust will come from Goldbelt. The trust will only be able to invest in passive investments, not active businesses. The trust receives favorable tax treatment from the IRS, including tax-free distributions for shareholders as long as the distributions are made from income. The trust is permanent and irrevocable except in certain circumstances. There will be 5 trustees, 2 Goldbelt directors, and 3 independent trustees. The trust will be subject to review after 10 years, every 5 years thereafter. Administrative services for the trust will be provided by Goldbelt. Goldbelt does not plan to charge for those services. It will take many years before the trust has enough money to provide all the benefits that are authorized. These benefits will be phased in over time. It is important to note that while the trust principal is being built up, Goldbelt will continue to provide distributions to shareholders and scholarships through the Heritage Foundation. The Ancestral Trust has its own terminology which is different from the corporation. The governing body of the trust is the Board of Trustees, and shareholders are called beneficiaries. As with all things, there are advantages and disadvantages to the trust. The Goldbelt Board believes that the advantages well outweigh the disadvantages. You need to consider the following. The trust is a separate legal entity, and whatever happens at Goldbelt will not impact the trust. Trust assets will be not available for creditors of Goldbelt. On the other hand, the trust cannot engage in businesses, and the capital invested in the trust cannot be used by Goldbelt. Once assets are contributed to the trust by the corporation, they cannot be returned to Goldbelt. The trust receives favorable tax treatment, but Goldbelt does as well, given its net operating losses, NOLs. Goldbelt believes it will be able to utilize all the NOLs to reduce tax liability while at the same time contributing to the trust. The trust has 3 subtrusts, each with a specific purpose: distributions, scholarships, and burial assistance. This slide shows how the trust will work. Goldbelt will make contributions to the trust. The trust will invest in various passive assets such as stocks, bonds, or real estate. The income from those investments will then be used to fund benefits. The favorable tax aspects of the trust are made available because of Internal Revenue Code Section 646. Goldbelt may contribute assets to the trust without any tax consequences to shareholders. The trust income will be taxed at only 10%, and distributions will not be taxable as long as it is made from income of the trust. To be a beneficiary, you need to be a descendant of an original shareholder or native adoptee. A native adoptee is an Alaska Native who was adopted by an original Goldbelt shareholder. There will be 5 trustees for the trust, only 2 of whom will be Goldbelt directors. The others will be independent trustees who will have financial or investment management experience. This slide describes the qualifications and requirements to be an independent trustee. The trustees will operate the trust with help as required for administration from Goldbelt. The trustees will make both investment and benefit decisions. The purpose of the distribution subtrust is to make regular monetary distributions to beneficiaries based on their shares of Goldbelt stock. The purpose of the scholarship subtrust is to provide scholarship and other assistance to enable beneficiaries to obtain education and training. The purpose of the death benefit subtrust is to assist in paying burial expenses when beneficiaries die. The trust will be subject to review. A review is the opportunity to make certain changes to the trust, including partial or complete liquidation and changes to the trust document. The first review period will occur 10 years after the trust has received $1 million in contributions, and then every 5 years thereafter. It will take some time before the Ancestral Trust will be able to pay benefits. Think of the trust like a savings plan or retirement account. Consistent investment over time will yield long-term benefits. It will be several years before any benefits can be paid out. In the meantime, scholarship payments will continue to be made through the Goldbelt Heritage Foundation and distributions made from Goldbelt. This slide shows if $1 million per year is invested in the trust and gets a 7% return by the year 2025, there would be enough income on average to distribute almost $550,000, pay scholarships of $184,000, and pay burial expenses of $40,000. This is an example only and is meant simply to show that it will take a while before significant benefits can be paid out. In the meantime, the corporation will continue to pay benefits as well. Any questions, please feel free to contact CEO Bob Lozelle, who will be happy to talk to you. He is a big supporter of the trust, having seen them operate successfully at other corporations. Please also review the Ancestral Trust information contained in the supplemental proxy statement mailed to you. Gunashchish.